Can I explain something about why I think growth and change is so hard for so many of you guys in general? It of course goes back to the thing that we always talk about, which is avoidance, which you could quantify as ego. When you hear people say like your new life will cost you your old one, or you have to kill your clone, like you have to kill that part of you in the past in order to forge a new future. I think a lot of us hear, that as habits, and you have to kill these bad habits in order to make space for the good ones, and that's true. But I think the reason it stings so much is you have to admit that you were wrong, and that's what we really don't like. That's the thing that's hardest for most of us, I would say, is like admitting that we were so wrong about so many things. And that's what learning is supposed to be. You're supposed to learn behaviors that didn't serve you, at where you were incorrect and you were out of alignment, and then shift those into a new way of thinking. That's why I'm always calling it like a paradigm shift. You have to have a mental shift of a new truth, like forging a new belief. But again, that's going to sting for a lot of you guys. And when I say avoidance, the reason I like that word so much is because the sting, the amount of hurt, the amount of discomfort is directly related to how strongly that belief is, and a lot of times how long you've believed it, if that makes sense. When you've had these incorrect ways of thinking for long periods of time, like, oh no, this is good for me, this that all that other stuff's nonsense. If you've believed that for 15, 20 years, then you start getting deeper into the age groups, it's really hard to admit that you've been wrong for so long, and that you were wrong so strong. Like, you were so adamant and staunch in your position, and now all of a sudden you're starting to see like how flawed all of that thinking was, especially like the negativity and the victim mindset stuff. They're like, oh man, I was just blaming everybody for everything, instead of just realizing most of it was me, and I just needed to look at what I was doing and focus on that completely, and stop, spending all my time and energy worrying about the one part of it that was somebody else's thing that made me react like a child. So I want you guys to get that. Something that I've been teaching lately is I've been calling transitional periods a molt. And I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that's a biological term for when something grows so large that its exoskeleton needs to shed, so that it can make it can start to grow a new one that actually fits the new form that it's taken on, right? And that analogy is so good. It's so good. I want to explain it to you. You grow. When you grow, you have to shed that old shell, right? That's the first thing that happens, because honestly, you've gotten bigger. Your heart's gotten bigger. You need to shed some negativity. And the other thing I want to illuminate to you guys, because it's a lot of times when I'm on my rants and everything, it sounds like this is all fun and games and that it's so simple. But I want to explain to you, when you shed some of those exoskeletons, in the biological world, now you're vulnerable again. You're right back to feeling like weird. It's very hard to experience. You now have this completely new under skin that needs to be hardened up again, so that exoskeleton needs to regrow, and it takes a little bit of time. That's why I've been calling them a molt. It's like, I look at it like this, like I'll have these periods of growth where it's like learning, and then like this big moment will happen. It normally will happen if I still am making some mistakes, getting taught a couple lessons by life again, the same ones I've been trying to learn over this little growth period. And something bad will happen, and man, this like introspection that happens in that pocket is massive, and it's really hard during that period. It takes a little bit of time to like kind of readjust to this new mindset. You will keep falling back into it a little bit, but more than anything, I just wanted to use that analogy. Like, you will hit these periods where now all of a sudden you're just like vulnerable again. You've grown and then you hit a plateau, and then that molt needs to occur because it's like you're stagnant at that point and you think that you know so much, and then all of a sudden it's this whole other world of things that you didn't know that you didn't know until you've gotten here to this plateau so that you can see all these other paths. And just understand, that's what I've been helping people walk and talk through, is like it doesn't just look like this linear curve. First off, life is forget, remember, forget, remember. It takes a long time to create these habits and to rewire your brain and to kind of get way of these negative ways of thinking that you've clung on to for so long. So what it more looks like is like these climbing a mountain, and then you hit these plateaus and you go, oh man, I'm not sure where to go from here. And then a molt will happen, and they're very hard to go through. Even if nothing chaotic is happening in your life, it feels very jarring. You almost feel like you've started again. You go, oh man, now I see how much else I have to do. When you're in these little pockets of the incline, you're so focused on the couple of things that you're tackling, these couple of new habits, that it feels good. You're making traction in this one area. Then once you have that locked, you hit this plateau and you go, oh man, there's so much more out there to do. Now I'm freed up of that one ailment, and I'm able to see these other ones that I was overlooking because of my hyperfixation on these couple of things that I was tackling. So the hurdles will keep coming. And I just wanted to say that because that's something that would have helped me drastically 2 years ago. You get in your own way a lot. You start thinking, I'm fucking killing it. I've been doing all this work and I've been doing all this work. It's like, how come people are still saying I'm doing these other parts of life, like in a way that might need my attention? And so that's why I'm always saying straight, not straightened. Just because you're nailing it now and you've learned some things and you're killing these new habits, just understand that's just one little string of life that you've nailed some habits down. There are so many out there that you don't know yet. There are so many things that will start to illuminate themselves as you're walking this path. So just keep your eyes open and keep moving forward. When you hit that plateau of stagnation, just know that something is coming. You've gotten complacent. Something will normally jar you out of that and get you to make another transformation, and that the transformations are never done just because you made one. And more than anything, with the example of the molt, when that happens, it's hard again. You feel like a beginner again. So be humble out there. Have a little bit of humility. I will tell you straight up that I will never stop growing. This is an infinite game for me. I learn things about myself every single week that goes by, especially 6-month periods, like long blocks like that. I look back and go, wow, how much I thought I was learning doesn't mean there isn't all of this other stuff that I don't know. So be humble. Hit me up if you need any help. Conversations like this with somebody really do help. They help me all the time. I have them with all my mentors. So hit me up if you need anything. Keep killing it out there. I appreciate y'all.